Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. I'm very excited to welcome Cody Dericks back today to talk about Best Actress at the Oscars 1974. We've got an amazing lineup. We're going to discuss how Ellen Burstyn won her still-to-date one and only Oscar in Best Actress for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. How are we doing, Cody?
Doing well. Excited to talk about Best Actress, which is a category, I might have affection for. Some of you listening may too.
Yeah, Best Actress is one of my favorites, if not the favorites. And it's fun to go back to like previous decades and things and talk about like, how did this person win? How did this person lose? Best Actress of 1974 is interesting. Ellen Burstyn, as we'll talk about, did not have this in the bag.
Right, and I feel like this is a race that a lot of people look back on now and maybe don't have affection for the winner because of who she beat. But I think once you watch that movie, it's kind of hard to deny that she's definitely worthy of winning for that performance.
Before we go into each person individually here, I did want to talk about the Golden Globes a little bit, which didn't go exactly how the Oscars did a few weeks later. So at the Golden Globes in Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama, it's 4 of the same nominees. You have Ellen Burstyn there for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. You have Faye Dunaway for Chinatown, Valerie Perrine for Lenny, Gena Rowlands wins for A Woman Under the Influence, and the nominee here that's not at the Oscars is Liv Ullmann for Scenes from a Marriage. It's very long, but extremely well done, well acted. It's worth watching. I think Ullmann would have made a really good Oscar nomination. But Scenes from a Marriage originally aired on Swedish television, I believe, and so it was ineligible to be an Oscar-nominated film. That's why you don't see it show up in any category. That's why Ullmann does not get in at the Oscars in Best Actress. Okay, so let's get into the Best Actress category at the Oscars, Cody. The nominees are Diahann Carroll for Claudine, Faye Dunaway for Chinatown, Valerie Perrine for Lenny, Gena Rowlands for A Woman Under the Influence. The winner, of course, is Ellen Burstyn for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I thought we'd go in order of like who was the least likeliest to win this to the obvious winner. And no shade on Diahann Carroll. Of course, I love that she's here. It's fantastic. But Claudine only gets the one Oscar nomination for her. So I would put her in 5th place here.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the kind of performance that would win at this time, although she is wonderful in the movie. It's a wonderful performance.
Yeah, it's not like the most obvious film that would necessarily get someone an Oscar nomination, but watching it a few weeks ago, I was really taken with her presence in that. She's very strong, and she's got all of these kids. She's trying to navigate this romance with James Earl Jones, who's also great in the movie. It's just a fantastic Oscar nomination for Best Actress. I'm happy the Academy recognized her for this performance.
Absolutely. It's the kind of thing that sits well in Academy's history, especially their lackluster history of nominating women of color, specifically black women in this category. She's one of the first to do it, not the first, but it's still, she's still in the single digits in terms of black women getting nominated in this category.
But the welfare is supporting Mrs. Price.
Supporting? Supporting shit.
I would say the next person, like the 4th person who could have won, is Valerie Perrine for Lenny. What do you think of this actress and this nomination?
I love this performance. Love this performance. I love this movie. I think it is a really exceptional, really well-directed film by Bob Fosse, and it shows that he can do something else besides just musicals, and not sound condescending because he just made one of the best musicals of all time 2 years prior with Cabaret. Valerie Perrine's performance in this is fantastic. I do think it is probably a supporting performance, to the point where if she wasn't supporting this year, she may win. It's a Best Picture nominee. It's a really showy performance, but there's a lot of the movie that she's not in. It's absolutely Dustin Hoffman's movie, but this category is so good, and there's so much worthy work here that Ask Me on the Right Day, and I may vote for this performance personally.
Yeah, I was really taken with her in this. I loved this movie. I feel like I'd seen it once when I was younger, but I didn't remember it at all. And I was just like, I'm watching this going, this is Bob Fosse. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's him because, as you said, He does mostly musicals. And those two lead performances are just spectacular all the way through. The black and white photography is amazing. As you mentioned, you could put Perrine in supporting actress. I looked before. She did win, I think, 2 Critics' Prizes for supporting actress. But she won lead actress at Cannes. She's nominated in lead actress at Golden Globes. It's that like Viola Davis Fences situation where it could go either way. It could be supporting or lead because in Lenny, Perrine is absent for stretches of the narrative. I wonder how that would have shaken up Best Supporting Actress. Ingrid Bergman wins for Murder on the Orient Express, as we talked about in a previous video. I think because Lenny gets into picture and director and actor for Hoffman, I think you're right. I think Perrine would have won Best Supporting Actress.
I love you, Lenny. Why don't you tell me to stop?
All right, that takes us to the third place slot. I would give that to Faye Dunaway for Chinatown.
I think she's pretty great in this performance. It's not my favorite of her nominations. It's probably my least favorite of her 3. Funny that 2 of her 3 nominations end with her getting shot in a car. That's strange. But
That's right. I don't even think
and
of
then
that.
I haven't seen Network in a while. I did double check. I'm like, she doesn't get shot in a car.
She doesn't get shot
does
at the
she?
end. She's alive.
No. This is an unusual performance for her in that it is not a performance where she's playing, like, for lack of a better terms, a ballbuster. She's a bit more demure than usual. She's showing a different side to herself. You know, Faye Dunaway has this reputation, frankly, both on and off screen for being very assured and being very confident in everything she's doing, and this character is not that. This character, because of everything she's had to deal with in her past, is much more withdrawn. I feel like she plays a lot of the film with her head cast down and her eyes looking up.
Yeah, I love all 3 of Faye Dunaway's Oscar nominations. I feel like these characters are so different from the others. Like, she has a vulnerability in Bonnie and Clyde, but also a strength that we don't see the same kind of qualities so much in Chinatown or Network. Chinatown, as you said, she does have something she's hiding the entire narrative, and so it's not anything close to the kind of character she plays in Bonnie and Clyde or Network. Where, I mean, ball busting is the perfect word, as you said, in Network. Like, she is just like, she will, like, nobody can stand in her way in that movie, and it's so much fun to watch. Chinatown, she's a little bit more reserved, and you find out why in the end. I mean, the secret she's holding, I mean, for all of these years, I mean, had to have really done a number on her, and I'm happy she got in here. I would have her in third place for 2 reasons. One, she has a previous Oscar nomination, as you said, for Bonnie and Clyde. And Chinatown, did you know this? It got 11 Oscar nominations.
It was a huge smash at the Golden Globes. It was well regarded. I would not be surprised if people were predicting this to be the Best Picture winner. You know, it does really well in the night, too. It wins original screenplay.
And then, I mean, I feel like Faye Dunaway still wins for Network, even if she's not nominated for Chinatown. But having a nomination for this very well-regarded movie 2 years before absolutely cemented her win for Network.
Agreed, yeah.
Evelyn, put that gun away. Let the police handle this.
He owns the police!
All right, so that takes us to the final 2 nominees here, Cody. Either one of these women could have won easily. Either one would have made sense. Let's talk about Gena Rowlands, nominated for A Woman Under the Influence. What do we think of this performance?
It's just only one of the best of all time. What is there to say about this performance? It's exceptional. I don't even love this movie that much. I think it is kind of overwrought and really long, and the husband sucks. But she is just... It is crazy how good she is in this movie. She's my clear winner, personally, if I have a ballot. In an exceptional lineup, she is still, by far, for me, the best performance. I think without that performance, the movie totally collapses. It almost collapses as is, but it's just astonishing work.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of this actress. I think she's just wonderful. I mean, I've seen her in a variety of things going back decades, and this is her strongest performance. I think most people agree with that, and she got very close to winning the Oscar here because she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama. And, I mean, she was showing up in, like, the Critics' Prizes and things. Like, she definitely had momentum to win here. I think what might have stopped the momentum having just watched this movie for the first time, maybe in full. I might have looked at part of it when I was younger. As you said, I don't love the movie so much. I think it is kind of a messy narrative. She is missing from the film for a stretch of time in the second half. I was kind of surprised by that. So I had some issues with the film. I don't think it's like a perfect movie, a 5-star movie, but her performance is so astonishing. I feel like she probably came very close to winning this Oscar.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those performances you watch and it is impossible to not be impressed. You just watch this performance and you go, oh my God, like how did she do that? Or is this a real person? You know, it feels documentarian, and that's also to do with Cassavetes' camera, which really does feel like home movies at some points in a way that feels obtrusive, and it gives her performance this extra air of realism. But if she wasn't there supplying that energy, it wouldn't work in the first place.
The other thing that hurt her was that the movie's only nominated for 2 Oscars. Best Actress for Rowlands and Best Director for John Cassavetes. Like, this movie is not nominated in picture. It doesn't have a screenplay nomination. It only gets into those 2 categories. So I do think that hurt her a little bit. But again, I think she was close. So she's nominated again a few years after this at the Oscars for Gloria in 1980, but the closest she got to a win was A Woman Under the Influence. I think this is one of the best acting Oscar nominations of the 70s.
You want a martini, sir? You want to have a little fun, sir? You don't mind making a drink, do you?
No, I don't.
Nah.
All right, Cody, that takes us finally to the winner of Best Actress at the Oscars 1974. Ellen Burstyn wins what is still to date her only Oscar for Martin Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. What do you think of this nomination and win for Ellen Burstyn?
I think it's a fantastic performance. She's the absolute lead of this film. It is around her. She gets to do comedy. She gets to do drama. It is a fully fleshed out character, completely centered on her. It's just amazing work. And this is her 3rd nomination in 4 years. So clearly the Oscars had their eye on her. She gets 3 more nominations after this. There's an argument to be made that this is maybe her best performance of her 6 nominations. I would maybe even agree with that. And this is really good work here.
Yeah, I have no problem with this Oscar win for Ellen Burstyn. I adore this performance. I adore this movie. Every time I watch it, I feel like I enjoy it even more. Like, this was Martin Scorsese right at the beginning of his film career, at least doing feature films. This is right after Mean Streets. And he brings such an interesting kind of viewpoint into this woman's life, her character. She is the whole show here. I think that's also why she wins. There's not sections of the movie where she's missing. Like, this is her story, one scene after the next. Her dynamic with her son is so much fun to watch. All the men that come in and out of her life. It's interesting to see how she navigates that landscape of dating after the death of her husband. And it's just a spectacular performance through and through. It totally makes sense to me that she won this at the end of the day.
It's also a great film, to your point. It's a really enjoyable movie, but it doesn't lack gravitas. It feels of a time and piece with the 70s social politics, where it's not explicitly a movie about feminism, but it's a movie about a woman making her way in the world without a man. Her husband dies in the first 5 minutes of the movie. She's with her son. She's just trying to make it in this country and facing obstacles upon obstacles. So I can see voters sensing something here about the kind of zeitgeist, at the time it was called Women's Lib. It's probably a bit towards the tail end of it by 1974, 75, but still, it was very much of the time, which certainly helped her.
Yeah, that helped her. I think, as you said, her having just gotten 2 previous Oscar nominations. She got nominated for The Last Picture Show, 1971, and then she was just nominated in Best Actress for The Exorcist. She probably was in second place. Like, she probably got close to winning an Oscar for The Exorcist, and that's just 1 year before. And then she gives this stunning performance in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I looked, it came out at the very end of the year, it came out in December, so it would have been fresh in everyone's minds. And even though she doesn't win the Golden Globe, she loses that to Gena Rowlands. I just feel like because Burstyn had those previous nominations, that probably just barely, maybe, put her over the top for a win.
Yeah, I imagine this was close, but I probably would have my money on Burstyn going into the night at the time. It just kind of feels like the type of thing that the Oscars would do, and they did.
Like, the Academy didn't love the movie. They didn't put it in picture or director. It only has 2 other nominations. Diahann Ladd gets in for supporting actress, and I think the other nomination is screenplay. You would think this movie would have gotten into Best Picture, but it doesn't. The Towering Inferno, they thought was a better movie, right, Cody?
And so do you. The biggest fan.
No.
I remember somebody saying it's the best film of the 70s? No. Who was that? I don't know, guys.
Do not tell the world that I think The Towering Inferno is better than Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I have never said that. I would never believe that. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore would be in my top 5 favorite films of 1974. I think it's just a wonderful movie. I'm so happy it got this one Oscar win. I thought it deserved even more than that. I think Scorsese should have gotten into director. It's just a fantastic film, and I'm happy it's represented here for Ellen Burstyn.
I will get you to Monterey before your birthday. I will get you in school by September. I swear it. Shall I open a vein and sign it in blood?
Now, are you sad, Cody, that she is not there to accept her trophy? She's not there when they announce her name.
But she is there the previous year to go, Glenda Jackson wins.
Kind of more that.
And I agree with her on that one. I'm kind of the same mind about that.
I think it's interesting that Martin Scorsese, who famously has only won a single Academy Award in all of his decades of incredible filmmaking, accepted the Oscar trophy for Ellen Burstyn on her behalf that night in early 1975.
Ellen is in a play tonight in New York. She can't be here. She asked me to thank everyone concerned with the voting, the Academy who voted for her, and she also asked me to thank myself. Thank you.
So besides his Oscar win for The Departed in 2007, I feel like this is his only other time where he's holding an Oscar trophy on the stage.
Right. I mean, he must have been thinking, I'll be back here so soon. I'll be back. Don't worry. It's definitely not going to be 32 years.
Yeah. I've got Raging Bull and Goodfellas in the pipeline. I'm not going to lose to Robert
Taxi
Redford
Driver.
and Kevin Costner. Come on. So in the end here, Cody, like, what do you think overall about this lineup? Are we pretty happy?
I am pretty happy. I probably would, just off the top of my head, put this somewhere near the top 10 of Best Actress lineups. I mean, to my earlier point, every performance here is good. Every performance would be maybe not what I would want to win an Oscar, but I wouldn't be too mad at it. I think it is also one of those years where it's so strong that if you take like the 3rd or 4th place contender of this year and put her in a year that's not so strong, she may even win that year.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this lineup. Again, there's nobody I would take out. I mean, Liv Ullmann is incredible in Scenes from a Marriage. If that film had qualified to be an Oscar nominee, I think she probably gets in here. But then she'd probably knock out Diahann Carroll, which wouldn't have been great. I like that she's here. So this is a lineup I adore, and I especially love that Oscar win for Ellen Burstyn. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this Best Actress Oscar race for 1974? Did Ellen Burstyn deserve to win? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.